Good morning and welcome to the weekly podcast of Olive and 2U Studios. My name is Michelle. I'm here every single Saturday at 9:30 in the morning, direct to you from Winter Park, Florida. If you haven't already done so, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications and go ahead and give us a like on the video if you like the things that you see this morning. It's chilly here in Florida, but I'm so excited because that means I get to wear the hand knits. I see some of our Yarn-A-Use here this morning that are watching us live. I see Tracy and Julie and Lorianne and Sharon and Karen from Scotland, Kim, all the people. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Maria is here. Valera is here. Everybody is here this morning. Good morning. And if you happen to be watching us later, that's the magic of TV, of YouTube TV. Welcome to you as well. I hope wherever you are warm and cozy and maybe drinking a sip of something going on. So happy to have you here this morning. We have a special guest today that I'm very, very excited to introduce you to. Nancy Victorino is a friend of Olive and 2U Studios. She's been a longtime customer. She's also president of the Bay Area Knitting Guild. And as if that wasn't enough, in addition to holding down a full-time job, she also has a business called KnitwiseTE, which stands for tech editing. She is a tech editor for knitwear designs, which is part of that kind of makes my eyes glaze over because everybody who knows me knows I'm not a math person, but I am so grateful that there are people in the world who can do the math, tech edit the patterns that we all stitch up, and keep us all on track for all of our work along those lines. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Nancy onto the stage, give her a big welcome to Olive and 2U Studios and to the Yarn-A-Use. Nancy, thank you so much for being here with us today. How are you?
Good, I'm great. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone.
Are you staying warm?
I'm trying.
Because you're in Florida too, right? Over on the West Coast.
Yes, in Lithia, near Brandon.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I was thinking Tampa. See, the things that
I mean, it's the Tampa area. It's in Hillsborough County.
Okay, okay, I feel better now.
Yeah. You weren't too far off. It's easy just to say Tampa than to say Lithia or Brandon.
Exactly. Well, I'm super happy to have you here to talk about both the Bay Area Knitting Guild and KnitwiseTE, but I'm going to ask you what I've started to ask all of my guests to begin with, because it's always very interesting to me how people sort of enter the fiber community. Like, we're not born knowing how to knit or crochet. Mm-hmm. So I want to know your origin story. How did you get started into yarn and fiber and all the yarny things?
Yeah, very good. Well, back in the 90s, I loved the company J. Crew. And so I used to get the catalogs, and they always had these gorgeous sweaters, oversized, like the drop shoulder. And they had this one cable knit one that was just awesome. And I went to my aunt Eileen, and she was a knitter and she crocheted. She always did an Afghan. She was a charity knitter. She knitted for people when they got married. She gave them blankets. I have pot holders still from her. So I said, "Hey, Aunt Eileen, can you knit me this sweater?" And she was like, "No, but I can teach you to knit." And I was like, "Okay." So I would go over to her house about once a week or, a couple times a month. And I'd bring my acrylic yarn and my straight needles, and she would teach me to knit. And I never did get to knit that sweater.
Aww.
Because by the time I could knit a sweater, it was out of style. But I did learn on knitting scarves, and I did have some simple sweater things that I did knit or make the pieces and then didn't do anything with them. It's your journey. So yeah, that's my start is Aunt Eileen teaching me because I wanted to make a J. Crew sweater.
I love it. Well, fashion kind of has a tendency to what goes around comes around, right? So maybe your time for that sweater hasn't completely passed. Maybe it's gonna, like be back in style, and it's time to revisit that sort of J. Crew knockoff. That would be
right.
Makes good sense. It's always interesting to see how people get involved, and it very often starts with my grandma, my mama, my aunt, like you just said. So you had kind of a typical entry to that. So fast forward, so that was in the 90s. And now you're the president of the Bay Area Knitting Guild. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is this your second term?
No, I finished 3, so we're going into the 4th year.
Wow. Okay.
That's
so this
amazing. Time flies.
Yeah, it definitely does. So tell us a little bit about the Bay Area Knitting Guild, because I'm so interested, because it took me a long time to even know that there was such a thing as knitting guilds. So I'm curious about that, how, what they are exactly, what they do, and then we can kind of do a deep dive into the activities of this particular one.
Sure, yeah. So we're just a group of knitters, crocheters, weavers, spinners, like overall fiber enthusiasts. We gather formally 10 times a year and then informally throughout the year. So even though we may not have a meeting one month, we do have other activities that go on. We mainly meet in person in Pinellas County, but we are trying to add like a Zoom element to our meetings. Our annual dues are $20, and it goes towards helping us organize guild meetings, workshops, meetups, places like the park, restaurants, and libraries. We also do sit and knits, we do knit-alongs, and we have holiday parties. So during our official meetings, we like to mix it up throughout the year. So we'll meet 10 times a year, and in those, sometimes we'll play knitting games, bingo, trivia, like I do pub trivia one of the months. But then we also do like continuous learning. So we may have a tutorial on like making buttonholes or different types of cast-ons or cast-offs. We have some amazing people in our guild that are members, and we just recently we elected a new board, and they have so much knitting knowledge that they just have so much. Every person has a little bit different to share. So during those meetings, we'll also have them as speakers, and we also hire outside guests to come in and speak to the guild. We've also organized knitting retreats where we had Laura Bryant just last year, and she talked on color theory and how to mix colors and using the Fibonacci sequence. So knitting isn't just yarn and needles. It's pretty amazing stuff. And
yeah,
definitely share it.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I don't think I was even aware. I mean, I've been a member of the Knitting Guild, although sadly, I really haven't had a chance to do an in-person meeting, but I hope to change that in 2025.
Yeah,
that's one of my big goals for 2025. But so it's not, I think a lot of people might think that it's really just about knitters getting together, and you do that, but you definitely have that sort of educational component.
Absolutely.
I mean, learning about, the Fibonacci sequence, if I can speak, cast-offs, and kind of leveraging the knowledge of that group of people in the guild. It sounds like is something that you do really well. That's fantastic. Plus, you've got kind of those social pieces to it. So I'm not sure that I knew it was quite that comprehensive and robust. I will tell you, I've enjoyed being at some of the knit in the parks, though. We've definitely gone there and done trunk shows and dye.
Yeah, and we did the dye with Maria. That was amazing.
Yeah, those are really fun events. And I'm hoping to do a demo at some point with my circular sock machine.
Yes.
You mentioned that you've got people coming in to do demos and that sort of thing. Now, when you mentioned kind of the Zoom component, does that mean that there's a possibility for people that are outside of the area to join, or is it geographically limited to only the Tampa Bay area or all of Florida?
Yep. So if you are a member of the guild and you don't live far, or sometimes driving into the Pinellas County area on a Thursday night is a nightmare, so you can enjoy the guild meeting right in your living room. So we are trying to add the Zoom component where if you're a member, you'll get the link and you just log in and you'll see me talking. And then we also have like a show and tell element to every meeting, and people will bring their finished objects, or if they're working on something that's interesting. Some people do test knits and they'll give us a sneak peek. Something's a different construction. They'll show it, and then they'll show it on on the video. And so you at home can also see that item. So
that's fantastic.
We are practicing with it. So, if any people who do join with the link, please be patient. We are practicing with it.
Great. So people from outside of Florida could join. It's only $20 a year, right?
Absolutely. And we do have snowbirds that can't make it to the meetings when they're in the north. So, yeah.
All right. That's fantastic. Tracy just mentioned that she loves that idea. Join a knitting guild for 2025. So whether you have one close at hand or if you don't have one immediately available to you geographically, then you can join the Bay Area Knitting Guild and participate via Zoom. We'll make sure that we have a PDF that you'll be able to download for free later in the show notes for you on our website. And then, of course, we've got all the links for the Bay Area Knitting Guild, so you can get all the information there. Now, one of the things you didn't mention that I know is upcoming is you've got a yarn crawl coming up. And I know we participated in the yarn crawl last year. Yes. So I'm anxious to hear about that, especially because you've got a really special partner with that this year, and that's the Loose Ends Project. So tell us about the yarn crawl and then how it's kind of dovetailing with the Loose Ends Project, if you will.
Yes, absolutely. So yarn crawls traditionally are a collection of knitting or yarn shops that get together, and sometimes they have sales, and then the yarn crawl is across different dates. So we have it for 3 weekends. It's from January 24th to February 8th. So that incorporates 3 full weekends. And you drive to the stores, you get a stamp on your passport, and then you turn your passport in at the end of the yarn crawl. Now, for the knitting shops to participate in the yarn crawl, we ask that they donate knitting, like yarn or knitting notions, books, gift cards that equal a certain value. And then we put all that into a grand prize basket. Now, this year we have 13 different yarn shops. And now I say yarn shops loosely because some are internet based. So we did add the internet element to the yarn crawl last year, where if some stores, even though they may be brick and mortar, they also opted to allow people to shop online, because some of the stores are far away. Like, we try to do the Tampa Bay area, but some are as far as like Winter Park, Winter Haven. Some are south in Sarasota, some are north. So not everyone can get to every store, even though it may be over 3 weekends. And so we do allow the internet component. So we do publish a list of rules, and so they're simple rules. They're not, they're not astronomical. So we did want to allow shops that we love that may be internet to participate. And that's how Olive and Two U's got to join it last year. But you also had Needleworks open for one of the Saturdays, which helped out a lot.
We did. And we had people coming here. Now you're kind of doing something special with the Loose Ends Project this year for the yarn crawl. And I know that viewers might remember Loose Ends. We actually interviewed them just before they went national with their program. And they're doing a wonderful work in helping folks have completed objects for people who've passed away or are no longer able to stitch. And that's not just knitting, but it's crochet, needlepoint, all kinds of things. So how did you get hooked up with them? And what does that look like in relation to the yarn crawl coming up?
Okay, yeah. So they contacted me through the website and asked if there was a way that they could partner with us in the yarn crawl. And I was like, this is very interesting. How will we partner up with them? What are they thinking? So I had a Zoom call with her, and she had explained that they'll give us also social media like publicity. So they'll advertise the yarn crawl for us, and on our passport we're going to have like a QR code where you can learn more about the Loose Ends Project, perhaps becoming a finisher, or if you had an item that perhaps needed to be finished. So, and what we're doing too with the yarn shops is they're going to donate an additional item, and we're going to have a separate basket made with all of those. So there'll be at least 13 items in that basket.
Wow,
And
that's fabulous.
we're gonna offer like raffle tickets. So we're gonna sell raffle tickets to the basket, and all the proceeds will go to the loose ends. So that's how we'll help them, and we'll put their logo and QR code on the passport so everyone sees it, and they'll help us out with some social media press, and we just hope that it all works out.
I love it. Fiber friends are the best friends. And it's so
Yes.
great to see different fiber entities kind of coming together and leveraging the resources of each of them to lift the entire community. And they do a great work. Bay Area Knitting Guild does an awesome job in connecting people locally. And so it sounds like a perfect marriage. That is such a neat thing.
Yep.
I love that so, so much. Okay, so I kind of want to shift gears a little bit because you're a math head. You're really good at all that. So Nancy actually traveled with us to Scotland this past year this year in the spring. She and Vince went with us on that trip. That was so much fun.
That was so much fun.
It was great to have you on the trip. And so I learned some things about Nancy, and I know she's very meticulous in what she does, which is perfect for her job as a tech editor. So KnitwiseTE, I have to tell you, it took me a little while to figure out what the TE was. I was like, TE, what is it? Duh, it's tech editing. Of course it is. Leave it to me to be a little slow on the uptake.
That's okay.
So tell us about your evolution then from knitter to tech editor, because that's a leap that a lot of people won't make, but we're grateful for the people who do make it. So how did that happen?
Well, my day job, I'm in quality assurance working for a pharmaceutical company. So it's pretty technical. We have to follow a batch record to make the drugs that people take to feel better. So a knitting pattern really isn't that different. You need to follow the pattern in order to make the finished item. So, with tech editing, it is, being meticulous, like you had said. So yeah, in my daily job, I am constantly reviewing documents, making sure they match the specifications that we had set forth. So this in my head was a really interesting transition. And I got into tech editing by listening to podcasts. So over COVID, I got into listening to a bunch of different types of podcasts. Like I did true crime, I did knitting podcasts, I did sewing ones, I did comedian ones. It was just kind of opened up your world a little bit. And one of the podcasts was Knit Picks. And I went back and started from the beginning when Kelly Pectin was doing the podcast. And on one of her episodes, she interviewed like people that worked with her, like her employees. And one of the employees was a tech editor. And I was like, this is weird. What is a tech editor? And they explained it where they are people who like proofread your pattern. So before it gets published by the designer will hire a person to tech edit, proofread your pattern or their pattern. And it is just to make sure that there are no mistakes, that the style is consistent throughout. Like if they capitalize something, like say they capitalize K for knit at the beginning of every row, is that done throughout? Did they use the same abbreviations? Did they list all their abbreviations? And does the math work out? So, and when she was talking about that on the podcast, I was like, I need to look more into this.
Yeah.
So Google's amazing, and you can really find anything you need. So I landed on the Knitting Guild Association first, and they have many certifications for, master knitter, tech editor, teaching, all sorts of certifications. So I looked into that, and I actually reached out to a tech editor that was listed as someone who completed the course. And she lives in the East Coast. And I emailed her cold, and she emailed me back all this information. She was such a wealth of knowledge, kind of gave me some confidence to go ahead and pursue it. But I did land on the Tech Editing Hub, which is another form of training. And they have pre-recorded lessons, and they give you homework, and then they give you the answers to the homework. And if you are still stumped after those exercises and listening to the videos, then there's also a live person that will help you through the course.
Wow, that's really robust. So
Yeah.
you did not just decide, oh, hey, I have the brains for this. I'm just going to put myself out there as a tech editor. You actually took classes and courses to be
Yes.
trained, and now
Mhm.
you're affiliated with this tech editing hub. Is that right? That just
Yep, the Tech
provides
Editor
continual
Hub. Yep.
support. That is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yep. And I also, they have like a network that you can like, it's a paid network that you can be in, and they share resources to keep you up to date on like how, if someone's coming across an interesting topic that they're not used to seeing, somebody may have already experienced that from editing a different pattern. So then
So
they offer help.
yeah, I really, really appreciate your commitment to professionalism through that, because
Mhm.
I think probably like a lot of industries, there might be people out there who put themselves forward as tech editors and don't go through all of that.
Oh,
And,
sure.
you know, I'm not besmirching the industry, but I'm just saying I'm always impressed when people invest in the education, because that really speaks to a level of quality and makes you an expert. And that's really needed. Now, I think a lot of people, you know, there's been this huge debate in any kind of fiber community, whether it's crochet or knit or anything, about, you know, this huge thing. In fact, I saw a blog post earlier this week about, you know, people free patterns versus paid patterns. And
Mm.
people sometimes, you know, well, why can't I get all my patterns for free? Or why do designers charge what they charge? And then I also heard, it might have been in my conversation with you, about the idea of, if you look at sewing patterns, if you're a sewist at
Yeah,
all,
that's me. Yeah.
if you look at the cost of sewing patterns versus the cost of knitting patterns, they are widely different.
Mm-hmm.
And yet both are persistent patterns that you can make again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone is doing pattern design and puts the investment in a tech editor, my understanding is that can be typically anywhere from $50 up to $300 or more, depending
Yeah.
on the complexity of the pattern. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I charge by the hour. Some people, yeah, they have, and the hourly rate can range too. So depends on, you know, what their experience is. So yeah, and then in addition to a designer hiring a tech editor, then they need to find test knitters, and then they'll test knit that pattern. So a pattern that is published could have had 6 months or 3 to 6 months of preparation just to come to the end consumer, the knitter. So, I mean, it's hard to break through that layer of, I want to charge for my pattern. But a lot goes into it. A lot goes into your pattern. And because how frustrating is it when you're knitting something and the stitch count is off and you think it's you, and so you're counting and counting, and how did I make a mistake? And you may just say, hey, let me just add some of these lines up. And then you notice that the stitch count is off in the pattern. And then you're like, oh, it isn't even me. And then you fire off an email to the designer, you know? So, I mean, they really, and that could be the difference between a free pattern and a paid pattern. You know, sometimes people do have errors in their free patterns, and it's, I mean, it happens. People are human, even going through a tech editor. Sometimes there are mistakes, and sometimes test knitters could find a mistake. So it does go through many people before it comes to you.
Yeah, Lorianne says, I'm so glad we have professional tech editors now. There's nothing worse than poor pattern design and math mistakes. And just like you said, it's not that pattern designers are poor at doing things. It's just we're human and we all make mistakes. And having somebody to be able, who has a trained eye to go through and really review that and look for those mistakes. And like you said, I think even sometimes with tech editing, there could be other things that are missed. And that's why we really appreciate it when designers, you know, send us updates if they find things in the patterns. And
right. Like, don't be upset when they send the update. It's only because something was discovered and they want you to have the best experience knitting.
Exactly. I have great respect for pattern designers and tech editors. And I think that's, you know, they work in tandem to bring us really quality patterns. So hopefully we don't have to think about the math, because
you don't want to think about, you barely even want to do your gauge swatch, which let me tell you is very important. Like, maybe a shawl or a scarf gauge isn't super important, but a sweater or a wearable item, definitely do your gauge swatch, because the sweater pattern has been based off of gauge. So, I mean, that's the very first thing I check in when I'm going to tech edit a pattern. I have my spreadsheet set up. I use spreadsheets for most of the patterns. And when I have to plug in the gauge, and all of the calculations are based off of those two cells, the row and stitch gauge.
That makes good sense. You just had to get that
shit
in there, didn't you, about gauge?
Swatch, but make the gauge swatch. It's worth it.
You just had to do that to me.
I did.
We've got a question here. Julie wants to know what the scarf is that you're wearing. Tell us.
Oh, it's from Woolenberry. Yeah, it's just a little shawlette little thing. It's like a crescent thing. Yep, I love Woolenberry. I just love her patterns. Her shawl patterns are just so easy to knit and repeatable. And I use flashcards. Like I know a lot of people do, like maybe what's it called? Knit Companion or paper. I'm a paper or flashcards. So I'll write it out. I actually do tech edit all the patterns before I knit them. It's a geek thing, I guess. Yeah, definitely a nerd when it comes to that. And so at that point, I am already working out the math. So I just make little flashcards of, how many times I need to repeat. And I just check off how many stitches should I have at the end of this row. And
that makes perfect sense. Now, I don't know if you can answer this next question. And if you can't, that's okay, because I don't know about your disclosures. Do you have a designer that you particularly love to tech edit, or somebody that's a regular that you can share their name, or would you rather not?
That's a good question. I didn't ask her ahead of time if I should share her name. I do have 3 designers that have come to me, and one is even local. So
maybe later.
Yeah, maybe another time. I should get their permission before I say anything.
Probably a good idea, but you've got regular clients.
But I do have 3 regular clients that steadily give me items, which is good. I really don't know if I could handle much more. But you just never know. Because it's not like they give me something every week. So yeah, I do. But yeah, I enjoy it. The 3 have been amazing to work with throughout the years, and I'm happy.
That's awesome. And because you're such a great tech editor and such a great math head, you're not just tech editing patterns these days, you're also writing your own patterns. In fact,
I am trying.
We've got one coming out in tandem for the spring issue. We can't talk about that too much, but you are doing designs. So tell us how. Now, were you designing before you did the tech editing courses, or did that come after?
It came after. And it started with the Knitting Guild, the Bay Area Knitting Guild. I was in search of something to do at like a knit along, and I couldn't find a pattern out there that was sort of a knit along that would fit our, I wanted it to be like trying different stitches. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to make, so I had done the Infinity Cowl, Bay Area, the 2024 Bay Area Infinity Cowl. So I did design that, and that took a really long time. I didn't know. And so I just scoured through like knit dictionaries, and I really was looking for stitches that would fit into the stitch count that I had already plowed forward with. And a lot of cool stitches didn't make the cut. And it's like, well, there's always next time. So after completing that kind of boosted my confidence a little. And then I just started having my own ideas. And so, yeah. And then over the summer, I actually took a sweater design class, and I learned 3 different types of sweater construction. And I have one on the needles now, like a sample. Yes. And it's using all of Enthusiast yarn. And so that might come out in the summer. So, but the In Tandem, they had partnered with Olive and Two U's for yarn support. So that's how I got hooked up with that. And I was actually a Kickstarter backer for In Tandem magazine when they first came out.
That's so cool.
So I was on their list of call outs when I saw that they were getting ready for the next issue for 2025. I just threw my hat in the ring with a design to see, sort of like when you're looking for a new job and you're going on a job interview, you feel like you might need to go on a few interviews before it sticks. Sure. And so then I threw it in, and then when I got noticed that they selected my design, I was just gobsmacked. I was like, what? This was supposed to be practice. So I have a design coming up in the In Tandem spring issue, and it is yarn support by Olive and Two U's. So maybe you'll see me back again when it comes out.
And it's, again, we can't say too much about it, but it is a beautiful design. I love it. And the elements that you incorporated into it, we spoke about that earlier this week, so can't talk about that too much, but very, very excited about that coming out. I love that sort of the theme I'm hearing about you, Nancy, is that you take advantage of the resources available in the fiber community, like the courses for tech editing and all of that, but you also support other people with your tech editing, with the work that you do through the Bay Area Knitting Guild. Yeah. I love that it's kind of part of that symbiotic relationship, right? Where we're takers and we're givers as well. And that's one of the things that I love about the fiber community, because it is a working community. And I think that I'm always so delighted when I come across folks that understand those relationships and participate in both of those ways by both giving and taking. And you do a fantastic job of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're so much fun to know. And I love your enthusiasm and your effervescence when you get passionate about your tech editing and your designing and about all things fiber. I mean, you do a lot of work through the Guild as well as your tech editing, and now you're designing. So we really look forward to seeing lots of neat things from Nancy over on the West Coast. So really quickly, I just want to mention that I'll be sure to have the download link for the PDF that she's prepared for us, all about the Bay Area Knitting Guild. That'll be free to download on our website, and I'll have the link in the show notes once the video is posted. What else do you have to share with us? Is there anything that we haven't really covered that you wanted to be sure to highlight today?
Maybe I could just say what our websites are. So for the Bay Area Knitting Guild, it is www.bayareakg.com. And we also have a Facebook group. You could just look up Bay Area Knitting Guild. We do have one question because San Francisco is also known as the Bay Area. So our only question is the Tampa Bay the one that you're looking for? So that's our only question, making sure you've landed on the right coast. And we do also have an Instagram, Bay Area Knitting Guild. And then to find me, I'm on Instagram. I'm knitwise_TE. And then I have an email, knitwisetE, one word, no spaces, @gmail.com.
And we'll make sure all of those links are in the show notes when the video is fully posted tomorrow. So all the ways to contact Nancy, because you're going to want to.
Yes,
you're going to want to get in touch with
you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've changed. I used to say any parting shots. I've kind of changed that. I think you already got your shot in when you gave me a hard time about the gauge. So
yeah, I think everyone's kind of on the gauge. So.
Had to do it. Had to do it. Nancy, thank you so much for being here this morning. I'm so grateful you were here and all of the information that you shared with us. And we'll make sure, like I said, those links are available. If you're local, be sure to participate in the yarn crawl, get in touch with the Knitting Guild. And it's only $20 a year. Like, that is the cheapest dues ever for all of the things that you provide to your members. So that is fantastic. Thanks so much, Nancy. Have a wonderful holiday season. And we'll see you in the Yarn I Use too.
Okay, bye.
Right,
thank you, everyone.
All right, that was great. Nancy was a lot of fun. Like I mentioned, we'll be sure that all of those links are available for you in the show notes. Some of them might be available during the live stream, but if not, we'll be sure that everything is fully updated. All right, that was a lot of fun. I love doing guests. It's so much fun to hear the information that they have and kind of see the breadth and depth of the fiber community and what is available. We've got more things to get to this morning. We've got yarn to talk about in the shop. We've got events to talk about. Of course, it is the holiday season, so we're sliding into both Hanukkah and Christmas for this year. It's hard to believe it's already upon us. And then, of course, we've got our Stitch the Season knit along that we want to be sure and talk about, and then a few other things, including whips. So without further ado, I do want to get into whips because you guys have been knitting up some things, knitting and crocheting some fun things. So let's take a look and see what you've been working on. All right, let's take a quick look here and see what's been happening. Kate Mitchell blocked her little tam. The pattern is Diamond Head on Ravelry, and the yarn is Hemingway, which is a worsted weight from us at Olive and 2U. She used the colorway Young Woo. She came actually to one of our stitch nights recently, and it was great to see Kate and her beautiful tam. It looks so, so perfect. I love it so much. Next up, Lydia finished her Scattering Petals cowl. She said just in time for another snowfall. She's actually up in the north of the country right now, I think visiting one of her daughters, having hopes for a white Christmas up there. So she did the Infinity version, and she used up 15 Olive and 2U mini skeins. She had those collected from the 12 Days of Christmas boxes, and it looks so pretty. I love her color selections on that as well. Great, great use for those mini skeins. Cheryl Gouen, she got another pair of socks done, ready for gifting. Now she uses, in this particular pair, the Vanilla Latte socks. She used On a Roll in the Beast from our past and former Dye Life Plus Club. That's a really pretty colorway. I love, love, love that kind of micro striping that's going on there. Paulette Radigan, I couldn't resist this. It's not a project yet. It's not a whip, but it's just before becoming a whip. It's like a baby whip. She actually got her tweed sock yarn in. This was Blueberry on our Donegal tweed base, and it is absolutely beautiful. Look at those rich colors. Got a little bit of that left in the shop, I think. Back to Cheryl again. She's got all the things on the needles. She's working on the Londoner shawl right now, and she's using Coal Miner's Daughter, which is a fingering sparkle here from Olive and 2U Studios. There might be some of that on the website now, and if not, you can look for a little bit of it coming up. It is a beautiful black color with silver sparkles, and it's just right for the holidays or any time of year, actually. She's hoping to take that on her Scotland trip. Cheryl's going to be going with us to Scotland as well in 2025, so looking forward to that. Kim Jackson. All right. So our 2024 yarn challenge, the time for that is just about up. We'll be doing a drawing at the end of the year, probably right after the first of the year, just to give everybody optimal time to finish up their challenge. So if you're working on that and you're not quite there yet, there's still time for you to do that. We'll do the drawing after the first of the year. But Kim Jackson posted she has finished the yarn challenge. I'm not going to go through all the patterns, but she went through the yarn challenge and ticked everything off and used a lot of Olive and 2U Studios yarn for this. So she's going to be entered into the grand prize drawing for that. So congratulations, Kim. I know others of you have completed the challenge as well, and I'm super excited about seeing who wins that basket, but well done. All right, Anne did this beautiful sweater. This is actually as a gift, I think. Yes, a Christmas present for her son-in-law. And that is our bottle green colorway on Shelly. And it is really, really beautiful. That button band looks perfectly done. The texture on that sweater is just amazing. Well done, Anne. Anne does a lot of socks. So I was surprised to see a sweater from her right now, but well done. Kim Jackson, she's working on the Knitmas in July from Nomadic Knits 2024. She's using Twain, our yarn, and that is a beautiful shawl she's working on right there. So she's getting close to the end on that. You might remember that Nomadic Knits offers Knitmas in July, and then they also have their Knitmas knit along, and it's going on right now. So if you haven't already done so, I really encourage you to head over to the Nomadic Knits website, order your kit there from Becky, or you can always use Stash Yarn as well. I should have brought it with me this morning. I ordered the little swag bag, and it was adorable when it came in. The little Nomadic Knits swag bag. I'll try to show that a little bit later on another podcast event, but beautiful things from Nomadic Knits. You definitely want to support Nomadic Knits. So really quickly, I want to talk about some stuff we've got going on. So Solely Socks is happening here on January 25th, right here in Winter Park, Florida. More of you are signing up, and it's going to be such a fun event. We've got sock crankers that are coming. We've got hand sock knitters that are going to be coming. We've got demos happening. We've got a Flegel heel, a toe-up cast-on demo happening, so you can learn about those techniques. We also have a dye your own double knit sock blank experience. It's going to be a lot of fun, as well as our self-striping yarn bar. Self-striping yarn is actually in transit right now from Canada. The Canadian postal strike, I think, is on hiatus, so it's actually traveling to me, which is really good news. So excited to get the self-striping yarn, and we're going to be having a self-striping yarn bar here during the event for the Solely Socks event. So we're going to have a lot of fun, whether you're a hand sock knitter, a sock cranker, or maybe you're just sock curious and want to come spend the day with us. It's going to be a long day, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But the good news is we have a lunch option set up for you from Panera. You can actually select during your registration whether you'd like a sandwich or a salad, and you can choose from a couple of options. So that's very exciting as well. The link should be down in the show notes when you're watching this, and you'll be able to register. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun. So this week is actually, as I mentioned, we're sliding into Hanukkah and Christmas, which I think I mentioned earlier this week in our shop update video. You definitely want to check out the shop update video. I go more in depth into the new things in the shop. But Hanukkah and Christmas overlap this year. So we're going to be doing our openings for the 8 nights of Hanukkah and the 12 days of Christmas simultaneously for the first 8 nights. And then the last 4 days, of course, will be just the Christmas openings. You can look for those beginning right here on December 25th on this channel. I can't wait. And don't forget, on the 25th as well, that first day is when both the 8 nights of Hanukkah and 12 days of Christmas calendars for next year will be available. We'll offer those at early bird pricing coming up for the next year, and I'm super excited about that. We have a great, great theme for you this year. I can't wait to tell you about it, but I'm not going to tell you about it just yet. You got to wait. You got to wait for the theme, but I think you're going to absolutely love it. So we've been planning that for some time. Very, very excited about that. And you'll be able to snag those at early bird pricing. If you haven't gotten your 8 nights of Hanukkah or 12 days of Christmas calendar yet, like you didn't order it and then you decide that you want to order it, we just have, I think there's one of the Hanukkah and maybe 2 of the Christmas calendars remaining. Some of you have scurried and gotten those up because we did dye a few extra this year. So just let me know. They're actually on the website as well. I'll be sure that the link is below in the show notes, or you can just search Hanukkah or Christmas or calendar on the website, and we'll get that mailed right out to you as quickly as you order it so that you don't have much time to catch up with. And if they're left after the holiday, maybe you'll see what's in it and you want it then, but I don't think you're going to be disappointed. The yarn and the goodies are absolutely wonderful, and I think you're going to love them. So that first video on December 25th will be right here on the YouTube channel. Be sure, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. That way you know as soon as new content is posted. I'm working hard to create new content that hopefully will be of interest to you. And if you hit the bell, it also tells YouTube that you like this sort of content, and hopefully it gives you a little bit more of that. So I see that you all are excited about doing the Nomadic Knits Knitmas with her olive and tea yarn. That's great. I love it. Oh, and Lorianne also said that the Canada postal strike ended on Tuesday. I thought there was just a break. So that's really neat. It's so fun. Be sure you're posting in the Yarn to Use your Knitmas projects, all the projects, whatever you're doing. We want to see them. And of course, especially if you're using Olive and 2U Studios yarn. So it's always fun to see all the different ways that it can be used. We have the Stitch This Season knit along happening starting today, right now in the Yarn to Use over there on Facebook. The link to join the Yarn to Use is down below in the show notes if you haven't done so already. So I have to tell you, our good friend Karen Burnett, Karen B Designs, did something special for us. She created a beautiful, beautiful pattern called Cozy for You, just for the Yarny Use. It's actually available on Ravelry. It's for everybody, but she did it for us for the Yarny Use. You're going to be using DK weight yarn for this particular pattern. And look at the little shape. How cute is that? So a couple things about this pattern. I love the little gnome next to it, by the way. A couple things about it. The way that she set it up, you can kind of do whatever you want with those charts. If you want to make it all sheep or all snowflakes, or you want to make it longer, you can absolutely do that the way the pattern is written. She has 2 websites where you can actually get the pattern. The first QR code that you see right now is actually for her PayHip website, and the one just below it is for Ravelry. So you have your choice of the way that you can download that website. I'm sorry, that pattern. So if you want it in your Ravelry library, you definitely want to do it there on the Ravelry website. But if you'd rather not use Ravelry, you can absolutely do it through PayHip. So you've got a couple of options. Karen is a good friend of Olive and 2U Studios. She also is one of the lead people at In Tandem magazine. So she knows all about what Nancy was talking about earlier, and she's seen the pattern and how beautiful it is. So we're really grateful for Karen and what she does for us. So we definitely encourage you to go ahead and snag that pattern. I'll be sure that the link is down below in the show notes. Order your pattern. We've got kits available right now on the website. It's 2 hanks of our Homer yarn, and they are deeply discounted kits. I think it's like a $7 discount, which is pretty good on those kits. We've gone through and put together some really neat color pairings for you for those kits, and I think you'll enjoy them a lot. And we'll get them shipped right out to you. The idea of this is that we traditionally have done a Christmas cast on of a sock, but we decided to kind of shift things up a little bit this year. And so it's the Stitch the Season. So you can do it anytime. You can cast it on today, you can cast it on Christmas Day or the first night of Hanukkah, and you can do it through, the whole time, New Year's, whenever it makes sense for you to cast it on, you can do that. We'll run the knit along for probably 3 weeks or so in the Yarny Use. The thread is already up in the Yarny Use. You can post your progress pictures, even if you just want to post and show us what yarn you've selected right now. You can absolutely do that. We want to see what yarn you're going to be using. So download your pattern. I know some of you have already mentioned you've already downloaded it, you printed it, and you're ready to rock and roll and go on the Cozy for You Cal. I got to tell you, I wish I had already knit it up because I'm headed to Maine for Christmas and it's going to be cold. So it'll be good to have all the hand knits. So Stitch the Season, that is available to you right now. The Cozy for You Cal by Karen. And we're so, so grateful. She did that for the Yarny Use. How neat is that? I love it. If you haven't already joined the Yarny Use, the link is down below in the show notes. You definitely want to join in for all the fun that we do there. And I want to see your whips and the things that you're working on. It's so much fun. The Scotland trip we mentioned as well. We're still taking registrations for that. Things are happening for that. I'm so excited about it. And I've heard from several of you that you're super excited as well. There is still some space available. I do limit it though. So as soon as we hit the number that I want to limit it to, we'll close the registration. Now is the time to get into that. Do not order your plane tickets just yet. I say on the listing, we want to hold off on that because we kind of do this in a very kind of organized fashion to get towards it. So you don't want to order your plane tickets yet, but you can look for more information coming after the first of the year on what's happening with that. But the events and the experiences that we're planning for the trip are going to be absolutely amazing. I mean, who doesn't want to pet a Highland Coo? I'm just saying. You can't bring one home, but you can absolutely pet and brush them and do all the fun things there. We're going to be doing workshops, knitting related, needle felting related, all the fun things. And we have such a great time over there. We're going to visit our Dollinish again. I own a craft shop, all those fun things. And we like to take you to places that you wouldn't normally go on even a lot of knitting tours. So this is definitely a very unique experience. So the link to that is also down below in the show notes. If you have not yet registered, you definitely want to do that. Karen, who is in Scotland. I'm trying to break myself. I typically go, Karen, knitwear designer from Scotland. That is not her last name. Her name is Karen Burnett. But we're going to meet up with her at the shop in Glasgow called For the Love of Yarn. She's looking forward to being there, and we all are really looking forward to meeting Karen in person as well. I got to meet her on the last trip. We did a little meet and greet and have gotten to know each other a lot better over this past year. So she's looking forward to meeting the Yarny Youths, and that will be a lot of fun. Yep, there's Maria, Scotland, all the Scotland things. So that's going to be a lot of fun. If you haven't already registered, if you're on the fence, I really encourage you just to take the plunge. It's going to be a great time. And spouses, non-knitting friends are all welcome. There's plenty for them to do. We've historically had spouses go, and I've never heard a complaint. Like, they find plenty to do and to be involved in. So it's not a boring event for them at all. All right, really quickly, I'm going to show you the new yarn that's in the shop so you can get a sneaky peeky. And then I want to talk to you about what's coming to the shop in January. So super quick, I'm going to show you Lonesome Pine Yarn Works, who does all of the dyeing for the Olive and 2U brand. They have a Fruits of the Spirit collection that is rather robust and comprehensive. It goes through all the fruits of the Spirit listed in the Bible. And we're very fortunate to have a couple of colors that hit the shop this week. This is Peace on Tolkien. Tolkien's are 50% wool, 50% cotton base. So you get that kind of almost beachy, heathered vibe with it right there. This is Peace. It's beautiful. And incidentally, it works very nicely with Wisdom also on our Tolkien base at the moment. That cuff doesn't want to come off. Let me just get that yarn cuff off. It's a little tight. It's hanging on there. Give me just a second. I want to give you the full effect. If you haven't already done so, you can also watch the shop update video here on YouTube. I post those every Thursday with the new items coming into the shop. So this is Peace, and it works perfectly. I'm sorry, this is Wisdom, and it works perfectly with Peace. It's got the same colors, but it's more speckly. And I did mention on our Tolkien base, you do get more diffuse speckles. They're not as crisp as they are on some of our other bases, but I love, love, love that look. And they work really nicely together, incorporating some of the same colorways, the same colors in both of them. So you could do some amazing things with that. Also, I'm glad I got the name right. That was Wisdom, not Peace. Only one is Peace. All right, next up, we have got all the things here. I love this next color because I'm a sucker for gray. This is called Quicksilver. This is on our Angelou Sport base. It's a beautiful tonal gray color. Looks very similar to what I'm wearing right now. And it basically would look the same if held with our Snow White on Bronte, like I did in my Yoon that I'm wearing right now. This is Quicksilver. Nice, neutral to have in your stash. Blueberry on Angelou. Oh, that got bent a little bit here. I'm being rough on the cuffs today. What can I say? Blueberry on Angelou. And you may have seen that tweed that we showed that Paulette had earlier during our whip segment. Same color, but this is not the tweed. This is actually on our sport weight. And it's that beautiful, rich blue. Next up, Ocean Deep. If you like blue, blueberries for you. And so is Ocean Deep. Again, highly tonal. You see some of the bare yarn in there. Really, really beautiful on that. Then we've got some tweed minis. You know, the tweeds came out last week, the Donegal tweeds. And this week we have tweed minis to coordinate. We've got lilac, oatmeal, and mahogany. So lilac, oatmeal, and mahogany. I have never seen tweed minis until now, and I was so excited to see these. What great things to have in your stash. Adds a little bit of extra texture to whatever you're working on. So tweed minis are there. And then I wanted to update you. We've added, this is such a popular colorway. This is Snow White, and it's on our Bronte yarn. Now in the Yoon that I'm wearing right now, I actually used our previous charcoal colorway with the Snow White or Swan White on Bronte. And that's why this particular sweater has this great little halo. I've told you before on previous podcasts, I am completely and utterly convinced I probably won't do a lot of sweaters without holding our Surrey Alpaca Silk lace weight with it, because it does give you this beautiful halo and it makes it so incredibly cozy and soft. So this has been really popular. We were out for a little while. It's back in stock in the shop. And then I've got one hank left of Maples Gap on Twain that just got added back into the shop as a restock. It's not in your newsletter because it was just one hank that we were able to get back in the shop. But this is Maples Gap. It sold out super quick last time. So there it is. Beautiful, beautiful. See those crispy speckles? Crispy. It's not like I'm eating it. But those crisp speckles, this is actually our Twain base, which is a great sock base. It has merino and nylon in it, and you get those much crisper speckles on this. So if you missed out on Maples Gap before, you'll definitely want to snap this up. Probably, again, this is when it's good to have another device at the same time that you're opening your newsletter and looking at the podcast, so that way you can snap up those things as they become available. So for the new year, very, very excited about this. Our new collections are going to begin rolling out in January. You're going to get multiple colorways, and they're all going to be coordinating together for you. And we're going to have more quantities in each of the bases. So hopefully, if you need sweaters or things that take more yarn, it will be much more available to you. So that's a good thing. Not so many pre-orders. We're trying to make it much easier for you to order the quantity of yarn that you need. Now, of course, we're not going to have like 30 hanks in every color and every base, because quite frankly, I don't have room for that. So if somebody else orders it, we might end up having to be in a special order situation, but we're doing our level best. We're going to be doing our level best to be sure that the quantities are higher here so that you're able to get what you need when you need it. So you definitely want to pay attention to the shop updates happening in January, because a huge box of yarn is on its way to me and you're going to love it. Plus, we've got some new things happening that's gosh, I don't know if I should tell you now. I'm going to wait. I'm not going to tell you now. But we have something happening for next year that's going to be brand new every single month. It's not a subscription, but it is something special and meaningful. And it's going to have a charity component to it that I think you'll really, really appreciate coming up for the new year. Very, very excited about that. So if you're in our Box of Socks subscription, that was a 1-year subscription that actually ends this year. You won't be charged anymore for next year. Our Socks EU subscription and our Salinger Pop Club subscription, those are indefinite, and those will be continuing into the new year. So I'm very excited about those. We've got beautiful new colorways coming. And I may have told you, I think I did give you a sneaky peek, that if you were in Salinger Pop Club and you received that gorgeous little mini hank of Ba Ba Ganoush. Yes, it's compulsory to say it that way. Ba Ba Ganoush. I've had several people already give me great feedback on that colorway. And yes, it's coming on big hanks in January. So you want to pay attention to that. That's that gorgeous split hank that incorporates black and purples and in it. And it's just gorgeous. So that will be coming in January as well. But we've also got brand new colorways coming in January, and plenty of them. So you're going to absolutely love them. So a couple other things. I've got something special for you coming up this week, the first part of this week. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you want to pay attention in the Yarn to Use for it, because there's only going to be a few opportunities for this special offering that I'm going to be setting up for you before I leave for Maine. And yeah, it's going to be pretty good. So you want to pay attention to that. And we're definitely doing more features in the Yarn to Use. We did one yesterday that like sold out lickety split. It was a beautiful sock set with some nice little stitch markers that were socks. You never know what's going to happen in the Yarn to Use. So you definitely want to be posting in there, paying attention. You never know what I might come up with in terms of prizes and fun things. So definitely check in there multiple times a day and post your whips. It's so much fun to see what everybody's working on. And it goes back to what I was talking about with Nancy. It's one of those give and take things where we can all be giving to the fiber community as well as taking. So we all get inspiration to see what everybody's working on. So it's a lot of fun. As usual, you can always reach out to me via email. And there's also a contact us button, I believe, on our website that you can reach out via also. I'm always happy to help behind the scenes with customer service and that sort of thing. Customer service remains my top-notch priority. I've said it 1,000 times and I'll say it again. I will make mistakes, but I'll always make it right. And if you don't feel like I've made it right, you need to contact me and I will do better. That's always, always the goal. I'm so grateful for our Yarny-Use and all that you all provide to each other, the way you support each other, take care of each other. I mean, we're closing out another year and heading into a brand new one. And it's a time of year that we become really aware of our blessings and grateful for the people in our lives. And I'm so, so grateful for you. This has been a year of transition, and I'm looking forward to so many fun new things in 2025. So you definitely want to stick around for that. I do want to mention that our stitch night for this coming Tuesday is going to be canceled, as well as our virtual knit, crochet, spin, and weave in for, I think, the following week, because it is the holiday weeks. And so those are definitely going to be canceled. You can always get updated on the website for that as well. And I am, in fact, leaving on Christmas Day, returning on New Year's Day. We're heading up to Maine, and I'm going to take my laptop, so I'll be available by email as well, but I might be a little slow in answering. So thank you for your grace in that. We're going to be doing a lot of traveling up in Maine, looking around, meeting with some folks and that kind of thing. So it was kind of a knee-jerk trip that we decided to take at the last minute. Originally, we weren't supposed to be out. I'm curious what you all are doing for the holidays. Be sure and post all the things in the Yarny-Use. Show us your pictures of where you're at and what you're doing, because it's a lot of fun to keep up with everybody. If you haven't already done so, I'd really, really appreciate it if you give this video a thumbs up. It helps me, but like I mentioned earlier, it absolutely helps you as well. So that way YouTube knows the content that you're looking for and what you enjoy. So please do subscribe if you haven't already done so, and give us a thumbs up. Do you know that the channel is over 4,000 subscribers now? We've got over 4,000 subscribers. That's really awesome. Thank you for your hard work to grow the channel. I'm so grateful for each and every person who's here. Please do share it. You can share it in your knitting groups on Facebook with your knitting friends. And the more the merrier. It's always so fun to have people around and see how they work together and how they support each other. So thank you so much for the growth of the channel. I've got exciting things coming up in the new year that I think you're going to want to stick around for. So please know how much I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Everybody have great, great holidays. Stay warm, stay safe, wrap up in all the hand knits, and enjoy yourselves with your family and your friends. Drink lots of good hot tea. Stay warm. And I'll see you in the Yarny-Use. And then, of course, on Wednesday for our very first 8 nights of Hanukkah, 12 days of Christmas unwrapping. All right. We'll see you in the Yarny-Use. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.